I'm excited today because we'll be diving into nitty-gritty tech stuff.
Each step you do, transaction.
And it takes too long.
So we start thinking about, okay, how we can mimic the idea of the Web3 game into Web2.
How is this better? What's the problem with having a backend, with having a bit of on-chain stuff and stuff not on-chain? Why do we want this?
Oh, now we're going into a, let's say, philosophical question.
There's a lot to unpack there. All right. Thank you for tuning into the TEACHMEDEFI podcast for another interview of ours. I'm excited today because we'll be diving into nitty-gritty tech stuff in terms of blockchains and layer ones and scalability and all that. I got Pavel here with me today from the project Gear/Vara. Hi, Pavel. Thank you for taking your time to be here.
Hello. Thanks a lot for inviting.
No worries. Our pleasure. Glad you're here. I think we have a lot to uncover today, but if we keep it simple for the start, in terms of what actually inspired the creation of your project, how did that come about? How did you meet your co-founders? And if you could just give us insight on that.
Sure. By the way, I'm not the founder. We have two founders. One of the main, let's say, one of the founders, and now he's CEO of Gear. He was actually one of the first developers of Quality. So he was a person that was developing the Substrate framework. And while he was working on the Substrate framework, that actually, I don't know how familiar you are or not, it's a framework that allows you to build blockchains, like shortening the time of building a blockchain from, let's say, a year to some months or even some weeks, depending on the complications that you want, how basic you want it. If you want things from pellets, then it's just like take one library, add some additional things, and you have a blockchain. So the idea of doing fast and reliable solutions for blockchains, then he understood that, okay, let's take a next step, because you don't need to have blockchains for everything. What you need to have is a reliable blockchain, and then you need to have the options of building fast and scalable applications. So he decided to say, okay, the blockchains by itself has limited capability in computation, at least how we see it now. So how we can increment that capabilities so that you can start really building programs on top of the blockchain and not just smart contracts that would be binary in what they do. So he said, let's find solutions that are really already existing in Web2 for parallel computation, for high loading systems, and let's try to bring them into the blockchain space. And then we can build something that would be really mimicking the decentralized networks, an internet on top of the blockchain that would give you, let's say, DNSs and things like that, that will give you the option to build the real decentralized network. And this is how the project arose, by two things. First of all, the idea was to make fast and scalable transition between Web 2 and Web 3, so that everything that you can build on Web 2 could be easily passed to Web 3, obviously adding some additional features because the architecture of Web 3 has a different paradigm. So it's more something around Web 2.5. So it's like an intermediate thing where you can take something that works on Web 2, adding some additional layer of security of the blockchain, and then you can put it there. And you don't need to invent the code as we're using Wasm, then the code you can be written in Rust. We are doing an additional compilator for C++. The option also to write already in assembly script. So it gives you like flexibility. So you don't need to be really like a core developer, learn new language, think about things like, also we simplified a lot of the stuff. You don't need to be thinking about how you manage the memory for the contract, the storaging part. Everything is done by our pallets. So the only thing you really need to be focusing on is the message that you send to the contract and the message that you receive from the program back. Thanks to the Acro model. Like, if you want to go deeper, I can explain how the Acro model works between messaging systems and things like that. But to make the long story short, it's imagine that you're writing a program and you can communicate as in the real world with the program directly. You can send a message to the program, the program can reply you with the message, and then depending on the interactions you're having, the results will be built. So it's not atomic. It's really like a program that would be running on top of the blockchain.
Okay. Yeah, before we dive into that, I was gonna talk later about the actor model as well. So the project kind of developed out of Polkadot then, like you said. So one of the co-founders was working on Substrate itself, which I believe now they call Polkadot SDK. And that came out of there, and sort of like then this project came about.
Yeah, we can say something like that. It was born in the idea of the Polkadot ecosystem, but we actually now moved a little bit forward just because like there's different streams how you can work, and our idea was to make something that would be fast, scalable, and could have like a high load processing systems, so that we can manage a lot of different information comparing to traditional way how the blockchain works. So that's why we now spin off a little bit for the L1 solution, just because part of our solution, like we were thinking in the beginning to also become a parachain. Now it's still like the idea is still there, but it's a little bit side down because now we're focusing on the layer one solution, because we found things that are not actually now compatible with Polkadot. So we want to structure it, we want to cement it, we want to make it like go smooth. And then after that, we can be thinking about the next steps.
Okay, let's talk about that then, just so we understand the structure and get an overview. There's Gear Protocol for one, and then there's Vara Network. Can you give us an idea what the relationship here is? What's the difference? What's the dynamic?
Okay, the Gear Protocol, we can think about that like a framework or like Substrate, but that could have already a palette that's using the Gear palette, that's using the asynchronous model, that's using all the stuff that we're having, the persistent memory part. And then Vara is the first deployment of this protocol into a real network. So Vara Network is our first like product, is an L1 solution that's already live. That's have already talked on the Tradable and Coinbase, things like that. But it's a solution for actually building already applications. And people are building on that, and this is what the main, let's say, the whole idea of the theoretical part that was built as a concept, that's the Gear protocol, is already live with all the difficulties and beauties, whatever you want to call it, of that real network.
Okay, so basically, if you could make a comparison, would Gear Protocol be like Substrate or Polkadot SDK, yes, and then Vara Network would be Polkadot itself or a parachain or whatever, like developed with that SDK?
Exactly, because you can take the protocol and deploy by yourself, and as it's based on Substrate, you have the option to add in the Cumulus library, and you can make it a parachain if you want.
Okay. And you mentioned Vara will be for now a layer one, so it won't be a parachain connected to Polkadot. And that was because of technical reasons, you said?
Yes, because we're using parallel computation, and actually the parallelism that we're doing it of the cores of the node producers, and Polkadot doesn't support that. So then the question is like, if we do that, we need to take this part away. Then with asynchronous and state consistency thing, there's still also some tricky stuff there, because we'll have to do something like rollups on top of the Polkadot to make it better. So that brought us a little bit into another path to see, first of all, how we can implement all the things, and then we can start already thinking about becoming a parachain, like later on movement and solution. So now we're focusing more on specific stuff, on stabilizing the network, on implementing this idea of rollups. We're thinking about ZK now, just because it gives you capabilities to use just the network, or to make like bridges, or to make or to connect to any other network in a more faster and secure way.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Perhaps we start with how is gonna Vara differentiate itself from other layer ones? As we know, there's a lot of layer ones going around. Liquidity is a bit of an issue in the bear market and things like that. Like bootstrapping a whole ecosystem can be a challenge. What's the difference? How is Vara different and differentiates itself from other ecosystems, layer ones?
Okay, first of all, technologically, as I said, like we're using the asynchronous model. That's actually we're using the actor model that gives you the option that everything inside the network becomes an actor. Meaning it doesn't matter if it's a program, it's a user, or it's a program that's generated by another program. So everybody inside the network is equal and everybody has the same capabilities. This can allow you to actually make programs that, depending on the result of what they're doing, they generate a new program, that later on generate a new program. And then this program asks you for some information, you send them the input, and they keep on moving forward. So this, when you start building using this paradigm, you have already started thinking something that's called the, I think it's called, just get out the word in English, but I think it was like a multi server architecture. So you have small pieces and bits of program that actually is reliable of doing their own job, and then you have something that connects them together. And this gives you a lot of freedom of building complicated solutions without having like monolith stuff, and then everything should be executed in just one block, and if it's not, it's reverted, and then you have to do a lot of back up or back end calculations, putting all the minimum information inside so the computation would be done. All this technology that we're building in allows us to do several interesting features. Like there's a lot, but if we would like mention one of the most interesting is, for example, the totally on-chain NFTs, which allows you easily to have implementing game stuff, because if you never take the NFT away, so it's never stored on the backend server or APFS, it's all the time on the chain. That means that it's really yours, or still proprietary. Nobody can mess with that. And then second, if it's mutable, and it's obviously should be mutable if it's on chain this way, so that becomes like a logbook of your activities. When we run a testnet and incentivized test, that we actually did that. People, first of all, minted their NFT, and then each activity that he was doing, we actually do something that's called totally on-chain games and totally on-chain incentivized testnet. What that means? We wanted to check how easy is that the programs will keep on doing all the information without having a backend outside with high load amount of people. Because one thing is like we mimic the information with our tests. The other thing is when real people started doing the activities. So we generated 4 activities. First of all was to mint an NFT. Second was to go and play a tic-tac-toe game where actually you're playing against an algorithm. Third was the points that you will gain from this game, go and swap it for the token that will give you more gas for the next activity. Then you have to play a race game. Then after that, you have to go and the same swap it. And that was the main activities there. So when you were doing these activities, everything was done without the backend, meaning the games were totally on chain. So it's blockchain. Each time that you do something, actually have to sign a transaction. It's the beauty and the problem of the on-chain games. We'll discuss later on how we can manage to do it better. Then you're having everything that's like, we have a leaderboard that was showing the position, the amount of points that you're having. It also was a contract. And the information, each time that you finalize the game, the same contract was sending the information to the leaderboard and putting the information inside your NFT that's saying, at this moment, you play this game. This was the score. You win on those. Next, like at this point, you play this game, win on those. So actually have like a logbook of all your activities on chain inside your NFT. And obviously, it's a technical part. We just show the metadata there, but we also give like a nice image so the person will like still see the NFT how they want to see it. It was unique images that were generated for this campaign. And then obviously the whole data that from our side, the most beautiful part was the data that was actually like the logbook of your activities. And if you want to put a little bit more of effort, then actually what you can do is you can do that your NFT would be changing each time that a new metadata is coming. You can you can do randomizing stuff, adding to the NFT. You can pre-record some activities depending on what's happening. But you can actually do this gamify stuff, that doing something on chain or doing something in your application will actually make your NFT mute automatically without a backend or somebody putting information there. So it was the one thing. And then obviously all the contracts and all the people that were interacting there, since the moment that they received the only thing backend was using is at the moment they were receiving even their the registration to receive the tokens to start passing the incentivized testnet. From that moment, the backend was actually closed and everything was done on chain. And it's something interesting because if we want to go and check, for example, with Starknet, that they were trying to do the same on chain games, you have a lot of things going either on the server or actually it's just small piece that's putting inside the blockchain. First.
Okay,
second
so
interesting thing,
maybe yeah.
Sure. Better question, because otherwise I can be
go on.
doing a monologue here.
Okay. No, it's just building on what you said, honestly. It's maybe to put it into perspective of what people know. So the on-chain games that people know, or games in general, how is this better? What's the problem with having a backend, with having a bit of on-chain stuff and stuff not on-chain? How is it better? Why do we want this?
Oh, now we're going into let's say philosophical question, because if we're talking about why we can have a backend or just on-chain, then the question is why we have blockchain. So it's all about trust. And I'm not saying that you need to have a totally on-chain games, because we need to understand that even with our capabilities, that's actually one of the best for computation and all this stuff, it's still limited. We are solving several issues. We can discuss later on about that, how we're solving, what we're giving, but still it's limited, the type of games that you can build on top of that. Just because the blockchain and the computational power of it is also certain way limited, or it becomes really expensive to render a lot of stuff there. So that's why the whole idea of ZK rollups or the rollup stuff is coming, because you want to do the high and complex computations outside and that just put a result there, but the result will prove that now nothing will happen outside. But still then you have a gap between outside and here. How, if somebody messing out with this calculation. So there's different ways how that would help. But the point is that previously, nobody was really managed to do some interesting on-chain games that would move inside. It's if you can do a game or a user play inside totally on chain, that shows the whole capability that you can do it. Because if you play a game, it's a contract, it's a program that actually is played on chain totally all the time. And this program is that it's a user that sends a lot of information to the contract for the race. It's each time you want to accelerate, you want to destroy, you want to stop, things like that. It's a lot of messages that is going back and forward. And it's just a representation of that you can build that. The same thing could be, for example, if talking about DeFi, the same capabilities allows you to build the on-chain order book, for example. You can see all the transactions. And this is actually practically putting the SEX interface into the DEX interface and giving you the possibility that nobody will mess with your prices or with what's happening inside. And gives you also the transparency of what's happening inside the DEX.
Mm.
So it's just the focuses, no more than that.
Yeah, making it trustless. And in terms of how do I have to think about that? If I'm playing that game, let's say it's some game and I'm hitting with a sword, or I'm walking one step forward, two steps forward. Are all of these on-chain messages, or
yes?
How does it look like?
If we're talking about the on-chain game, then each movement that you're doing is an on-chain transaction. Okay. So if you and if you think how this type of games are done, for example, in Ethereum or Starknet, it's actually, and this is what now incentivizing also was the same. You have to actually sign each transaction that you're doing there. So sometimes it's becoming annoying. And because each step you do, transaction.
And it takes too long.
Yeah, and it starts taking longer, and the gameplay is going down and things like that.
Yeah.
So we start thinking about, okay, how we can mimic the idea of the Web3 game into Web2. And then we decided that there is, thanks to the account abstractions and thanks to the whole idea of the icon model that we're having, what we can do is that, and obviously now we're going a little bit tricky between security and let's say, and comfort, because still the triangle is there. The most secure stuff is really sometimes difficult to use. The less security is, it's more user friendly. But
yeah, as a trade-off,
yeah. But in this trade-off, what could be done is why we're saying the trade-off, because if we build a smart contract as a wallet, then obviously once you have a smart contract, it becomes already a specific amount of vulnerability in this wallet compared to the wallet that you can store, like you can store more. So we suggest that, let's say you put some money in the wallet, but it's not big, but this is the one that you actually want to play the game. And if something happens, you're okay with losing it. So you put that into this smart contract wallet. Then you open the permission to the game to actually withdraw a specific amount of tokens for gas and for play without you be signing it all the time. So then you start playing, and actually the gas is consuming, and you just make the moves. And on the back, once you make the move, the transaction is signed, and you're moving forward. This is one of the things that we are it's not built yet. We're just thinking and analyzing it. We'll do some examples because we're not building, we're not building the games, and we're not the game studio. What we're doing is we're trying to give examples. And actually on our webpage, you will see a lot of examples, and later on I can show you if you want, where to find them, of different applications, like how you can build a DAO in less than 5 minutes from scratch, how you can build an NFT marketplace practically at the same time, including a front end. So all these small features, we're doing them as examples to show that it's possible, because in other blockchains, either it's not possible to have a huge amount of code and a backend server that have to use and things like that. I was saying, okay, look guys, let's switch a little bit the paradigm, and yeah, you can do it. This is the way how you can do it. And also thanks to our architecture, we have things like gas reservation, and we have also the idea of vouchers that we're introducing now. And this allows you also to shorten the time for the go-to-market, because if you, let's say, I'm putting the idea of the games because a little bit more straightforward, but that could be used in any application. When you want to have a mass adoption, and if you see how the mass adoption can come to Web3 or the traditional way how we do it, it's you have to go download the wallet, then you have to go and see where to buy the token of the project, either on an exchange or P2P or wherever how you have to find it. You have to put it into your wallet. Then you have to connect the wallet, and then you can start playing. So all this gives you a huge threshold for the people to actually go inside Web3. And that's why we don't see this mass adoption while everybody's talking. So, and the biggest mass adoption is actually people that just see when the hype is going up and Bitcoin is going up, they just want to go at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and put it into the wallet and speculate about that. So what we want to do is we're thinking in a way how we can shorten this idea. So we developed this term of voucher. It's when the application can put specific amount of gas in a separate contract and then say, okay, these wallets that are coming, they are allowed to use our application without having any tokens there. We're paying for them. And that actually shortens the idea that the only thing that you have to do in order to use that application, yes, you still have to download the wallet. We are also thinking on different tricks there, but you still have to download the wallet. But that's the only threshold that we're having. You downloaded the wallet, you connect with the application, and you start playing or using the SEG if you want, or using any other idea that you have there till a specific point. And then once you already like it, you play the first ideas, you do the first activities, then already the application say, okay, now if you want to continue using it, already go and buy the tokens there. And plus, additional to that, we're also adding some on-ramp solutions so that you can buy inside the same application with your card, you buy the token and you can move forward. That actually streamlines a lot the process to something similar that you can see in Web 2 regarding gaming.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys are really thinking about onboarding and user experience, which makes a lot of sense, I think. And in terms of bootstrapping the whole thing, how are you thinking about decentralizing the network? And for example, topics like governance, which are often talked about in Polkadot with OpenGov. How are you thinking about those topics and pushing them in the right direction?
Okay, we're also having OpenGov, the same as Polkadot, because we're using the same palette for governance, to be honest. It's a good question. There's a lot of things happening there. I don't really want to go too much to discuss that situation because it's back and forward. The people saying something is good, something is bad. I think that we still didn't took a specific approach. We're just we use a pure palette of OpenGov. So actually everything that's happening on Polkadot could happen on us. But I think from my personal perspective, not speaking as a project because it's not decided yet, it's not there. So just mark it as my idea because of what I saw in Polkadot. I think that it should be a mixture, because what Polkadot had with the GAF 1.0, the first idea of the governance that they're having, it was like a council that decided a lot and less based on the community. The OpenGov second one was more based on the community decision. So that's why you can see a lot of projects that was trying to get grants and they have, let's say, a lot of voters, but small ones. And the community will say, yeah, we like it. And then just one big, either validator or somebody has the tokens to vote, just say no. And you have 2-3 people that were actually dumping all the proposals and nobody could do anything regarding that because even that you have a lot of huge people saying, yes, we want to do it. There's 3 people that say no, thanks a lot. Or 1 people that are having different accounts saying no, and that's all. So It's also not, let's say, a decentralized solution because it's centralized, but in the way that if you have a lot of tokens and you can do it. And then there was another thing that actually the team of Parity and Web3 were not voting. When they passed to OpenGov, they practically took away by trying to put the flag of decentralization and putting the council out, they also withdraw their voting from the process, which actually takes a lot of power to support. And then it was just based on the community. And then obviously it becomes the power of the person that had the biggest amount of tokens in their position, or it was collected by, let's say, a validator that asked for voting for powers from the people that validating for them. And then it's still not a real decentralized thing. So my idea somewhere is in the middle between the previous idea and the OpenGov. So you can have weighted votes in a certain way. So you have here the let's say the fellowship or the idea of the community that's voting, and then you have in a specific way like a council that could be either from the project or could be from the community. Also, guys but they're specific and let's say in specific activities. So if the guys are specialized in marketing, so they can also vote for this solution. And if they, let's say, get specific amount of votes and they like the proposal, they can give their comments and their weight is much higher than even that the one the community is saying. And then but if the guy is specialized in, let's say, in infrastructure and coding, that his vote is not really at the same weight for the proposal as the person from marketing. It's one thing. And the second important thing that I'm seeing, and because like the whole idea of the project of the problem started rising, I think around the prices, is actually they have to have an outside counsel also. Like if you want to make decentralized, it's more about an outside counsel or like counsel from the community, whatever, that will be analyzing the proposals on time in terms of costs. Because that's true. A lot of the proposals in Polkadot sometimes were really high out of of the scope. Meaning, I understand that people that are building the proposal and wants to, for example, doing educational videos, it's practically a common good thing. That means that you're not getting money from outside other than the people that will sponsor your videos, so you can do it. And it's a job, and the job should be paid. So if we put it like a proposal for a grant, whatever, but it's still a job that you will be doing, and you have to receive some gratification for that. So that's why it's okay. And I think that another thing that actually everybody's missing around in these proposals, and this is, I think also that freaks out the community and a lot of people, is that a lot of grants or the proposals that are putting there is saying like it's a non-profit proposal. We're doing that just to support the network. We are not getting anything from that. And then you see the prices, and the t-shirts is costing like $20 for printing. And you're like, in India, and you're like, come on, guys, like, even in the US, that would cost around 15. So what's happening there? And you see the double of the cost and all that stuff. So I think that it's more really transparent and honest to say like, okay, this is the cost, and this is like my revenue for that. I will take this amount of time to work, and this is like my payroll. And it's more transparent and more honest. So, and then the community already can decide. So I think that putting a counselor also on top of analyzing the prices that are going, and when the proposal goes and says like, I don't know, I want to spend 300K in one night for the event in Zimbabwe, then you understand that it's like the prices are going off the ramp. Like you don't need to event like that.
Yeah. In terms of this counselor or counsel for analysis, what do you mean? Like that there'd be a few people who analyze the proposals and like just maybe are even paid for it and give out their opinion, or is it that they have voting power? Or
to be honest, this is my idea. As I said, we don't know yet what we will do. Let's see how Polkadot will also work on that. But I think that should be separate people. That should be also a little bit, maybe a mix between the guys from the foundation, because at the end of the day, they are the guys that are putting the money there, but based on the community. And part of that should be outside people. But there is also a tricky thing with the outside people, because these outside people in the community that are known, that have experience or reputation, they shouldn't be allowed to ask for grants. So then because you cannot evaluate by yourself. So it's,
of course,
it's all the time this tricky thing. Maybe even to talk to guys from, I don't know, influencers or people known from our other blockchains or other foundations, like if they're okay to help. Like sometimes maybe precisely you can talk to people from marketing team from our project and say, look guys, can you help us on this governance, and maybe pay for something for that council, maybe just have relationship. But you understand that it should be in a certain way, a person that it's not interested in giving this money out, but also not interested like in saving it for him. Like he's not winning from both of the situations. You are just relying on his experience and expert idea that what he's looking is saying, yes, that makes sense.
No, that makes sense to have that sort of checkpoint included as well.
That's the idea of the DAO in a certain way. This was the idea of the DAO in the beginning, that people collects by interest, and then they do decisions based, first of all, on the experience that they're having. And then second, like, obviously there was an idea of the token. You have more tokens, you have more voting power, but then you can manage it with experience. less tokens, but more experience in this idea, and that it's nivelating to the amount of money that you're having. But the whole concept is that all the idea of treasury and spending and proposals shouldn't be a way that either you just open the valve and everybody's taking what they can take, or you just close it and nobody can take it. It should be like still
more dynamic,
a dynamic thing, and has to have logic. It has to have some benchmarks. It has to have, if you're asking for money, then put the timelines, the budget, then upload the results of the budget, and that builds, also start building trust on the idea.
Yeah, you need to kind of formalize some processes that already exist in other ways in the in business, in a decentralized system, sort of. In terms of deliverables and timeline and milestones and all that. Let's get back to the network and kind of the tech there. I talked to Taylor, 0x Taylor. Shout out to him, and he mentioned something to me, and I think you mentioned it just there earlier as well, about transactions on Vara or with Gear Protocol, which I believe they're non-atomic, and that's quite unique in the blockchain context because they're usually atomic. But first, can you just explain what does that mean, and why do you go for that paradigm, and perhaps what unique primitives and use cases do you envision with this?
Okay, when we're talking about an atomic transaction, that means that it should be done in one block, and it's either done or it's reverted. So there is no option of doing it. Part is done and the other part is reverted, or part is done and the other part is just freezed. So that means that if you take it down, it doesn't matter, like Ethereum, Polygon, BNB, whatever EVM chain or other type of chains, then even near, for example, that's actually Ethereum put in a Wasm that's faster, but still it's atomic in the way. That means that everything and all the logic that you want to do on type of computation should be put in one block. And now imagine which computation could be done if the block is closing in 2, 3, 5 seconds. It's really small. And that's why, for example, when the first CryptoKitties came, Ethereum went down. Because to compute the whole logic at that moment that they wanted to build, and the practically was like an NFT, it actually consumes a lot of power, and it was not managed still to be put into the block. So it was reverted. And then when it's reverted, it goes into the main, in that time it was proof of work, so it goes into the main pool. And then once more somebody wants to take it out because it's like huge amount of transactions, and then the queue is going out, and then automatically the prices is going up because of the computation is complicated. And so that the network, when it's like, it's not managing to, there's a lot of accumulation inside of the main pool, the price is going up. So nobody wants to put transactions. So the transactions like economically would not be viable unless people will put transactions there. And this is what's happening. So, when we're talking about, this is atomic thing. So if you want to make complex solutions, it's impossible to do it. And then we're coming practically to the idea that a blockchain is a database for storaging information, but not a place where you can actually build something or run something on top. And that's why the whole idea of the ZK Labs, all the stuff's coming, because if you want to do this complex computation, you have to do it outside. Especially in these atomic things. You don't manage to do, you even cannot do a normal on-chain game there, because you still have to run something outside and put the information like the next step, this is the player, or things like that. Just because the contracts cannot talk one to each other and the contract cannot talk to the user. And when we're talking about our solution, thanks to the Acron model, then you have a totally different gameplay. First of all, at the moment that you have asynchronous messaging system there, you can have a program that could execute partially and then wait for some additional input and do the next execution. if we put it really simple, I think that a lot of people also are traders here. You have in the SEX, like when we're talking about any exchange, centralized exchange, you have the option to put an order, and the order could be either fill or kill. So it's actually or filled completely or not done, or you can fill it partially. Meaning that if the price comes here, you have part of that, it's filled, buy it, blah, blah, and then you complete it in some moment, or you don't complete it. But you still have part of what you wanted. So here happens the same. For example, that's why, thanks to this partial thing, we can also mimic the idea of this order on a DEX. Because we can partially fill the order. If you put in a standing outside order, we can partially fill it. But it's just like one straightforward analogy. Whilst in the other blockchains, it's either done or not done. And it's more done like with the slippage rather than not done. So,
okay, so instead of done, instead of having just a binary done or not done, you can have sort of partially done, a little bit done.
Yes.
And then like, okay.
It could be done by steps, but it's a really straightforward decision. But if we talk about why you need it, it's because you can have a program that would like to do something now in a specific moment, and then wait for a day, 2 days, or whatever, a next input, then wake up and continue moving forward. That's, for example, what happens with let's say putting the same example easy, an order that you want to say that at specific price, I want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first part of the execution is to put that order there. And then it's like goes to sleep till the oracle says it's the time and to wake up and do the execution.
And this cannot be done on a EVM network.
No, unless you have a backend thing that actually will send the information and send another contract to do the execution.
Which would be another centralization vector and risk.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Another thing, for example, easy is example. When you do voting on a DAO, you in the normal blockchain, in the atomic blockchains, what you do is first you send a transaction of the voting, and then when the time is coming up, you need to go inside and send the next transaction to close the voting.
Mm-hmm.
With us, you can send the two transactions at the same moment and just say, okay, this transaction is starting the voting. Then after 3 days, please finalize it. It's sent and you forget about that. It will be done automatically.
Okay. And the scheduling would also not be able to do on an EVM without a backend.
Yes, you cannot do it. You cannot do it on chain. You have to do it off chain. So you have to have a timer and the logic of chain so that at that moment it will try to send the transaction on chain.
And are these capabilities of the Polkadot SDK, or have you guys developed this?
It's our development, precisely.
Okay. But you do build upon like the Polkadot SDK as a basis?
Yeah.
Or what was that?
Let's think that Substrate is the whole idea of how you can build the blockchains. Like it's the core architecture of the runtime structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have different palettes. So for example, if we take about Moonbeam, he took a palette called Frontier and he has a type of solidity thing and all this stuff. If we take a Star, they put both of the palettes, Frontier and Ink, and they have these options. So, but the core is the same for the runtime upgrades and all the stuff. So we use the same core, but instead of adding the palettes of Frontier or Ink, we added an additional palette, the Gear palette, that actually had the synchronous model, the persistent memory stuff there. And this is how that the layer of execution of the smart contracts is developed by us.
Okay. And some of these palettes that you've developed, there's technically challenges to use them as parachains. So that's why you're first doing a layer 1 for Vara. Is that correct?
Yeah, the idea was actually to see how it works, because nobody did that before. So we're launching, we're testing with users, we're understanding, we're improving that, we're giving these capabilities. And that's why sometimes we talk a lot about gaming. It's just because if we go into, let's say, the most popular place where everybody says and wants to look now is more on DeFi stuff. But DeFi is like Ethereum thing. Like it's, unless you have bridges, even having bridges, it's really difficult to disrupt that direction. And you always requires a lot of liquidity for that. And if you're talking about gamify stuff, it's like closed on ecosystems that you really don't need outside liquidity if you build other solutions that can help people to do it in this straightforward way. That's why we are focusing a little bit more on that stuff, because it can help us to build an ecosystem without having be competing with other blockchains for the Ethereum liquidity. Like, we're not against that. We're also working on bridges, about the other solutions. Like, we can use blockchain. You can do anything you want on us, the same you can build on any other blockchain. But for gaming stuff, we think that actually it's a little bit easier for us to move forward, because we can give a lot of solutions, like bridging. The whole idea of us was bridging between Web 2 and Web 3 in a fast and smooth way. So we can help them to do that. And we don't need to be fighting for specific resources with other blockchains. And then, obviously, like, as a separate streamline, we can do that because we have a project that is building, let's say, the analogy of the sex on the DEX. So it will be an order book. It will be in the it will be messages. It will be transactions like fill or kill, orders that you can put all this stuff there. But like, it's there. Like, it could be done. It will be done. But the whole concept, I think that the biggest mass adoption, the value we can do it is more there, just because it's more straightforward.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Straight up competing with the liquidity that exists on Ethereum would be making your life difficult. Perhaps not the best approach, as you said. And we talked about gaming a lot. Are you guys talking to gaming studios? What's the sort of reactions there that you get? Because sometimes it's a bit controversial. NFTs and blockchains, a lot of gamers don't like them. So are you talking to gaming studios and the likes, or?
We're working on that, different ideas, different approaches that we're talking about that. Obviously, there is also two mainstreams. There is now it's already becoming also gaming studios, but before you have like the on-chain gaming guys, it's more like enthusiasts who want to play and wants to work there. Then you have the Web 2 games that wants to transition something in Web 2.5. And both of them works for the classical gaming studios, and actually for the people that wants to play the games as they used to play in Web 2. They don't care about they have blockchain or don't have blockchain. They want to have the same gameplay. And obviously, if separate to that, they can have an option of having the assets owned by them. It's a better. And they are okay with that, because I was just speaking in China, in Shanghai Blockchain Week, with one person, and he was saying, look, I was playing, I think World of Warcraft, I think he was playing, till actually the servers were shut down in China. And he said, I had like assets and money that I invested in all this game, around 100K, I think, during the whole years. Wow. And then it's blocked. And I cannot access them. Like, it's not there, but nobody can use it, but it's locked there. And even if I connect to other server, I cannot access that because it's chain one. It's a mess. And obviously, if you had the option of the NFT and put it on the blockchain, when they tried to shut down the server, he could take these assets and move it into another server, another game, another metaverse. So you have this freedom of moving the bits and pieces without losing the gameplay that you are having. Yeah, which actually is a great value for the player if he believes in that, and he believes that the problem could happen. Because there is a lot of times that actually we don't think that something bad will happen till actually it happens, and then we say, why we didn't do that? So it's all the time tricky. But yes, I think that the game studios is more like moving into that direction, so that it doesn't affect the gameplay, but it gives specific benefits to the player. Like later on benefits. And especially you can play, let's say, if you're starting, just as an example, it's like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed, if you play the first game and you have your own personnel with all your achievements, you can move it into another one, and then you can make like things like that could help and could make it interesting. And also it gives a lot of new interesting solutions. If you, I don't know, you have an axe with which you killed somebody in an epic game, and then you can actually sell it in a more transparent way and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's definitely concepts that would be empowering to the player. Do you want to show us some stuff? We could do some screen sharing.
Sure.
I think that could be interesting, something tangible to look at.
Sure, let's do it. Let's see what we can share. First of all, this is the web page of the Vara Network.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have different stuff. If we go for the idea of developers, here is like a guideline of different things that you can do. But if you just deploy smart contracts, you can go into the wiki and you will see a lot of different examples that are actually divided by different categories. For example, you can go into NFTs and you will see here an NFT marketplace. If you click in the marketplace, you can see base marketplace with Substrate indexing, with NFT front-end applications. You click here, you can see the screenshots of the front-end that you will receive, how it works, the idea of the non-fungible token that you have to mint before to pay for these tokens, the NFT, the UI, how to run it, how to upload the program. So it's like really straightforward on what you can do. And then at the end of here, you will see, and you can build it like in really short period of time, and then just go and play with this type of things. No? On-chain NFTs, for example, here, you want to see how it works, please. Different smart contract that we applied there. You go, I think we also added something. If you go to GitHub, you go downstairs, you can see things like that, and open here or open in Gitpod. If you play open in Gitpod, it automatically will open the code, and you will be able to change there directly the stuff, and then just upload it into our network. So all this, I think we tried to do the idea here also, like, for example, the start contracts. We tried to do it quite easy and in the most like straightforward way. For example, for uploading the program, this is the code. It's called IDEA. You actually collected your wallet. You choose the network, upload the program, select the files that you compiled from the previous Gitpod, for example. If you do it, you put it here. I will not just do it now, but you put it here, and it's already in let's say it's already in the network. You can easily see the programs that are actually running now. Remember that I was talking that everything is talking about the messengers. So we have another guy that is developing a project that actually an encrypted messenger based on the network.
Okay.
So that it would be the information, yes, would be on the blockchain, but it would be encrypted so nobody can check it, and you can be talking directly with the program. We have another project that is building on that would be like a streaming project that actually gives you the same idea, that you can have a peer-to-peer streaming, and it would be anonymous in this way. Like obviously not the video, like the video will be anonymous, but it will be allowed to people that you allow to go there, and it just make the payments and all the stuff the same way. So this is the way how you can manage the programs. You can also have here app examples. Please go. You will see the same examples here. This is the page of Give Foundation. If you want to see it in like a more nice way, it's also here. So also different ways how you can have these different examples.
Okay. No, the examples you mentioned, I just from what you were saying, it's very performant blockchain, right? Like a lot of transactions per second must be possible there, and these use cases are dependent on that, right? Like a chat and things like that.
Yes, and it also gives you the beauty that we have like separated lines. You have like a pool or a queue of transactions. You have a queue of messages. They are like done in different ways. The whole reliable and the validators are taking them in different approaches, so it makes much faster the stuff. So this is like, if we're talking about examples, if we're talking about for developers, they have validator supporters, ecosystem stuff that's building there. We do a lot of workshops and events actually in hackathons, both in China and America, now in Europe. So a lot of things are happening around. We're trying to build something that would be more sustainable and that would be like more interesting both for the developers, for the community, and so the developers will not really struggle to find the information, that they can really go. And if we're talking about, let's say, our wiki, you can have a lot of information there without digging into different bases and different, like, okay, what's happening here? Now let's Google it there, and now let's do it here. That's why all the idea of the opening of all these pages, we're also reforming a little bit the menu. It will be maybe a little bit easier the navigation, but here, like, we're trying to put by blocks and bits and pieces where we can get the whole information and get it like step by step if you become a developer and what you want to do if you want to develop on NAS. The same goes for staking, for all the stuff.
So you're really trying to make it easy for developers to get started on Vara, I'm hearing.
Yeah, the idea is that, like, the idea is to make the path between Web 2 and Web 3 easy. And the idea is not to be cannibalizing on the developers that already exist in the ecosystem. It's to bring new fresh blood. That's why we do a lot of workshops with different universities. We're starting getting some agreements with universities to teach part of the blockchain courses that they're having based on our network. And this brings fresh ideas, fresh minds, fresh people to do applications that really like could be either applied to the real world or could bring some new ideas into the whole space. Otherwise, we're like going around the same.
Same people, yeah. You need fresh blood from outside to come in and try things out. What programming languages can you develop programs on Vara with?
Now it's actually mainly Rust, is assembly script, and we're working on different other options also. There is a guy from the community that is actually trying to do something with assembly script. There's another guy that's trying to do with C++. We'll have to see what will happen there, so we can also add it to our library and say thanks to the guys. We're also like there's another team that's working actually on the I think it was on an SDK for actually Unity, so you can put the games inside, and then you just put the blockchain part, the Web 2, Web 3, Web 2.5 idea. So it will have a direct SDK to Unity, and it can be utilized there. It's also like, but it's somebody from the hackathon from Mexico that started doing that. He's keeping, and let's see the results it has, but it's nice.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you for showing us all that. And we'll put all the links in the show notes for anyone that's interested to go and have a look and perhaps get started. Right. So, I mean, for wrapping this up, could you give us some insights into what's next for you guys? What you're excited about? You mentioned Vara main network is already live, right?
Yeah,
so what's coming up? Yeah. So what's next? What's going on?
There is a lot of things that's coming there. Like we're expecting new projects coming. People are there like building. We want to see the deployments. We are so excited as they on the deployment of the whole ideas. We're also exploring the idea of the ZK part, ZKML. There's some examples already put in there, and we hope that somebody will start working on that also. We're seeing different solutions on the way of rollups also for amplifying even more the computational power that we're having. And we're exploring these directions. I think that there is a lot of things that's going on around, like between hackathons, events, applications. We actually run and we're rebuilding a little bit our Gear Academy. If you go here to the Gear Foundation part, you will actually see that. Just a second. You will actually see the idea of this Just a second here. You will see here the Gear Academy and the developer section. We're reshaping it, passing to a new web page for multi-language part, because now it's mainly in English. And we're rebuilding the courses to make it much more easy, like for a small one, beginners, intermediates, advanced guys, so you can understand more the difference between the the state consistency stuff, how to manage it. But it's already there. There's one course that it's more it's a little bit for more advanced people now, but we're reshaping all the stuff. It will be there. I hope that the beginner course will be launched, I think, in 2 weeks. And this is how, at least, we think things can happen and can move forward.
Okay, super cool. I'll check this out. I mean, as you know, we do e-learning courses for beginners to get started on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Polkadot. So in German thus far. But so I'm always excited to hear about educational things. And if it's for beginners, then I could check it out.
Yeah, maybe we're thinking about for the beginners, we're trying to do it in 2 weeks to take it out. We're just testing it now. Then also we'll be thinking about doing something for beginners for working with React, for example, because sometimes you don't just need backhand, you also need some front end part there. So people understand how to mix them together, what libraries, how to use it. And then additional to that, we're also thinking, I don't know yet, it's pipeline ideas. Maybe we'll do some educational, learn to earn program for this type of academy to invite a little bit of people, but it's there. This is, the whole concept is to make new people come to make the transition between Web 2 and Web 3 fast and easy and smooth, and bring more interesting projects into the whole entire ecosystem.
Super interesting. Thank you so much, Pavel. That was very insightful. I think we could talk for hours, but I think this is a good point to wrap up. Is there anything else, any last words you want to leave viewers with?
Sure, follow our Twitter for news. We really do a lot of events, meetups in different parts of the world. So if you would like to meet us, we're always helpful, and we're always grateful to see people that actually from our community. If you're not from our community and just want to learn about us, just come. We're also grateful for that. I think we try to have good relationship with all the projects, and it doesn't matter what are you doing, we can find synergies and do something together. So just come, check it. All the information is posted on our Twitter. So if you go there, it's either you can go to Twitter, that's Vara Network, and you can find all the things that's happening there.
Lovely. Check out the show notes if you want to find those links. And thank you, Pavel, and see you soon.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
You too.